Hey, this is Pedro.
This is Jackson.
And this is Solid Foundation. So what's going on, Jackson? Thank you for doing this with me, man. I appreciate it. The whole intent of this channel is to really educate folks out there. Not only customers, buyers, sellers, but we also want to educate the people that might want to get into real estate and just cover a bunch of different topics that we could, guide them into the whole process. So, I want to introduce myself, man. Before real estate, Jackson, I was a chemical engineer for a oil company in West Texas. Prior to that, I was in the military for about 9 years or so. When I left the military, just like many other vets, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do, but I knew that I had went to school. I knew, there was opportunity. So I went into the oil industry for a couple years. But, one thing for sure, man, I don't know about you when you started your journey in real estate, but while I was still in the military, I started taking classes for my license. Never finished. I just kind of started 1 or 2 classes and I left that chapter kind of unfinished. So the whole time I was in the oil field, I was looking at all these people on social media and I was like, man, I think I can do it. I have the natural gift, I would say, to talk to people. And, I just wanted to give it a shot. So I put all my eggs in one basket, man. And I decided to just end that chapter in the oil field. And I quit that place. I pulled all my money out of the 401k. And I was like, well, even if it takes a year to get good at it, I have enough money saved, to make it. So then I decided to go back to school, into Champions Real Estate School, finished all my classes, got my license. I met someone there that was with the team. We're with the Levi Rogers Real Estate Group in San Antonio, Texas. I met someone that was there, and that person just kind of took a liking in me, right? And he asked me if I was a veteran. I told him yes. He told me about the team and how Levi was a veteran as well. That's all it took for me to kind of already be interested. So I set up a meeting, interview with Levi, Jason, a couple people from the team, and I was ready to go at that point. I kind of hit the ground running pretty fast, but we'll talk about some of the things that we are, some of the things we do on the team. But what about you, man? What was your journey like?
No, Pedro, man, that's a crazy story. I know a lot of people, come from the military and they don't know what to do. So I definitely sympathize with that. Myself, I was going to college. I was going to college for history. I have a master's degree in U.S. history, and at the end of the day, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I thought about doing a museum. I thought about doing, archives, stuff like that. But we're all hit with the reality. Right. We got to pay some bills. So you know what I mean. So I started to drive Uber, and as I was driving Uber here in San Antonio, I met our former broker, and she was talking about how she worked for a military veteran, and I had interviewed veterans from World War II to Vietnam era for a college project. So I thought, well, why not work for one? And that's how I got into it. But I was just answering phones. I was setting appointments, not knowing anything really about real estate. And I learned everything here at the team, here at the Levi Rogers Group. And that's how I got into real estate. And, it's taken me a lot further than I think, even if I had gone down the history path and whatnot. So I'm here, and now that we're here at the LRG, I've become a mentor. So you and I both we teach agents, and I think that's a solid stepping stone. I think a lot of people in real estate consider giving up and not hoping to succeed in the long term, but we've both made it. How long have you been here for now?
Man, with the team, I've been almost 5 years now, man.
I've been about 7. So really, I think the team structure, for me, that was a big reason why I joined too. I didn't know San Antonio, and the team really supported me in learning that.
And I'm glad you mentioned the team because, as a new agent, Jackson, even though I had experience with other jobs and leadership and whatnot, I didn't know anything about real estate. All I knew is what I saw on TV, all the glory, all the stuff. But I didn't really know all the failures that also happen in real estate, right? It's one of the jobs that, most people end up quitting within the first couple of years or so, right? It's very difficult. But I knew I needed a group of people to help me. I knew I needed tools, guidance, coaching, all that stuff. And for me, starting 5 years ago, all I banked on was my work ethic. You know, I didn't really have the skill, right? As far as, and I mean, I had some knowledge, just not as much, of course, starting. But, you know, I kind of adopted this mindset of, well, if I was working 15, 18 hours in the oil field a day, if I put in at least 10, 12 out of that into real estate every day and take no for an answer and do it every day and continue to learn, at some point I have to get good. I mean, it's only a matter of time, right? You know, what about you? Like when you started?
Yeah, no, I mean, basically, like I said, I was just answering phones, and that's how I started to learn. And I heard what people were asking. You know, I knew that at the end of the day, real estate is a sales job. So I had to learn, you know, how to sell. And, you know, that was tough. But going and listening to people, what they really wanted in a house, areas they were looking for in San Antonio, that really opened my eyes early. And then, you know, when I actually got my license and started to do sales, it made it easier because I had experience on the phone. Right. You know, and this is very much a, you know, set a lot of calls and set a lot of appointments for yourself. But like you said, too, it's a self-commitment. Yeah. You got to be committed to it. You got to put the hours in. And since then, you know, I've done a lot of business and sales, and, you know, both of us have been successful on the sales field, enough where, you know, we both teach agents now. Yeah. I mean, you know, you talked about some of your journey, you know, mine was pretty similar too, but, you know, it was one of those things with the support, the work ethic combined, you know, and the most important thing was, you know, not relying, even though I have the help, I also took the initiative to get better myself, self-education, right? So I was constantly volunteering for stuff, asking for help. Can I volunteer? Can I host your open house? Can I do this? Can I come with you to a showing? You know, seeking for that knowledge, man, because I feel like a lot of people don't realize, you know, you're coming to a whole new field, right? Brand new. And, you know, we had big boy bills, right? It wasn't like, oh my God, we can just mess around and not really take it serious. I was just fully committed, right? So once I got started, man, I started doing really good. You know, it was one of those things. I believe in real estate, once you start getting a few contracts under your belt, transactions, it's important to not let go. You know, I feel like a lot of people, it's easy to celebrate yourself. I mean, not that it's wrong to celebrate, but not necessarily take long breaks, right? A lot of people want to celebrate their first transaction or whatever, take a break, do something else, and then come back. That's a no-no in my opinion, right? So I got going. I kind of got into this whole routine. Pretty soon after that, I was a top producer. I know you were as well. We were in the leaderboard for years. And, you know, it was one of those things that, you know, for me, it got to a point where, you know, I closed my 30, 40 transactions a year. But it got to a point after a few years that I was like, well, you did it for yourself, right? You're good. That's awesome. Yeah, I got my little shine. Cool. Can you do it for other people? Can you teach? Yeah. You know, but it's one of those things that, in my opinion, it came organically, right? Because, you know, not that I wanted to be a mentor, it just came naturally. People were watching. And that's the thing about a team, is that it's so much collaborative, you know, environment that people watch what other people do, right? And just like me asking questions, I had people asking me questions, right, as I was getting better. And then eventually that turned into becoming somewhat of a leadership role, if you will, right, within the team itself. And that's how that happened for me, right? Levi got the notice of that. And, you know, soon after that, a couple years later, you know, I was offered the position just like you to be a mentor. You know, I know, you know, you're very tech savvy and you do a lot of things, but you also have a lot of knowledge when it comes to the city, right? Historical stuff in the city, requirements, restrictions, all that stuff. So I know for a fact, the same way I was asking you questions, other people were doing the same for you, right? Is that how that went? Yeah, no, exactly. So, you know, I think it really leans into why we're doing the show today, you know, and solid foundation is something that we were both brought into, you know, as part of the team, and we helped build that here. And I think it's great that we want to spread that, you know, and so really, you know, wanting to spread that knowledge, help somebody go from nothing, from driving Uber, you know, to selling houses. that's why I kept doing it, like you said, and we've taught so many people now, and we want to increase, our audience, and it's really cool to be at that point, in our career to want to share it and not really ask for anything in return. Right. I mean, that really shows why we're mentors.
And also, what kind of character and also the culture of the team, right? Because the same way when we joined, we had one mentor. Now we get to focus on smaller groups individually and really focus on his agents right now, right?
Yeah.
Because, I know for a fact, just from my group itself, a lot of agents have the skill, a lot of different things, but they always need someone there that's been there before. Someone that will tell them, hey, don't do this, do it this way, right?
Well, talk about because you were in the military. Yeah. Do you think it's kind of like rank? Like someone has done that and been there?
Pretty much. It's the same type of structure. It's we don't wear any rank on our sleeves or nothing like that, but it's the same thing. I've been there. I'm more experienced. I've been tested, battle tested, if you will. Come learn from me, right? Because I'm going to tell you where not to go, what to do, what to say, what could be better. It's something that takes a lot of time and skill. And, even though it took me years to develop this, I'm able to bring into my group this level of knowledge where if they put the work in within a couple weeks, they can perform at a very high level. What are some examples that you have from your group?
Yeah, no, I have a great example, and something that we want to teach, of course, as we go is, having a good mindset, but then also coming in ready to learn. When you're joining a team, what's great about it is, like you said, you've got like 200 people that have been there and done that, and you can start from scratch, but you have to be willing to be like a sponge. And I think when we started out too, we learned it the hard way. We didn't really know anything, but as we got going, we just knew that every piece, everything we're doing, it added to our knowledge. And so I had an agent come in, and she is actually from Brazil, and she was like, man, I have a bad language barrier. And I said, well, many Brazilians moved to San Antonio, and she had never thought about that though. She was like, maybe I can speak Portuguese, her native tongue, and do business. And when she started to learn that and pick that up, all the other contract stuff, I can teach her that. But it was really about finding her people here, and that's what garnered her success.
And that's a good example, that one, because I know exactly who you're talking about. And it's just such a wonderful feeling, honestly, just seeing the beginning, of someone when you meet them and interview them, and then they join. Whether the level of confidence is not there, the knowledge, all those things, and then a year later, you're staring at a whole different person.
Oh yeah,
very much different.
Well, it's that confidence, and that solid foundation. It really is. If you start right into this business, it's not as scary as people think. A lot of people, like you said before, they're scared of it. It takes a lot, and it's harder than many businesses. Even opening your own business can sometimes be easier than having to be brokered. And you have to find that mentorship. And so, being able to provide that is great.
And some of the things that we do as mentors, we're not only in charge of like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to do this, how to sell houses. It's a lot of other things that go into play when it comes to becoming a mentor, being a mentor for other people, right? Getting to know them at a little bit deeper level, right? Understanding that not every agent that you get in your group is going to be exactly the same. And not everyone absorbs information the same, right? Some people require a little bit different stuff. My group ranges in age. I have guys that are 18, 19 years old. Their concerns and focuses might be totally different from the other ones that I have that could be in their 50s, 60s. It's very different. So you really have to just focus on the agent, understand what the goals are. But the most important thing is, I don't know about you, but no one in my group joins without us having a full-blown consultation and also doing like a business plan. Because to me, just like the military, right? Work ethic, but it's all about accountability and commitment, right? Are you,
for sure.
Do you like it? Are you obsessed about this? And if not, then what will it take for you to be there? And if you're not, I mean, are you in the right business? Right? Because this is a do or die type of business, right? And I mean, you're also dealing with people. Real estate is probably the biggest investment that anyone will ever make in their lives, right? We can't play with that stuff. We want to make sure the agents understand what they need to do to protect their clients at all times.
Yeah, no, it just really reminds me, when you go to a listing appointment, you're asking them, should you sell your house? It shouldn't be, you shouldn't have commission breath. When you're coming in, it's the same with mentorship. Yeah, it's the same with mentorship. You can't come in and think they're going to be the top agent. You got to come in and teach them from the ground up. And if it's the right decision, people from that are on my group come from all over different careers sometimes too. This isn't their first career, and I'm sure many of you out there, real estate wasn't the first career you thought of or got to. Right. So you have to make sure that they know, it's long nights, weekends, right. And it takes a lot out of you. But the benefits are high too.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was Googling, like everyone else, watching videos on YouTube, researching, a lot of times real estate is glorified as something that's like it doesn't require too much. Do it from home, have a lot of time free. And that can be true, right? But I feel like it's a journey. Just like you can't live the same lifestyle that, say, a colonel in the military would live if you just started. You have to work your way up to get to that point where you can reap the benefits of the labor. And I feel like in the first couple of years, it's a lot of sacrifices that must be made. And one of those is time away from family. That's dedication, but a routine, right? Would you say without a routine, that there's no way someone will make it?
I mean, there's just no way, and Pedro has said this to me before, his calendar is his Bible. If it ain't on his calendar, it just doesn't exist. So you have to kind of get there where, you're scheduling every hour of your day. But I think it's kind of cool because it's a lot of people talk about the time value of money. Or the money value of time. Either way, you could switch them out. And in real estate, it is all about what you can do with your time, and if you know how to spend that 1 hour. How much can you get out of the 1 hour? And it makes you think about that. Versus just going out there and hoping a transaction happens. You've got to schedule that time. You got to bust it down.
And, to me, it was one of those things where if I'm not busy, because we come from regular jobs, right? And a lot of times, you go to work, you finish at a certain time, that's fine, you get to relax. But in real estate, a lot of times, especially starting, there was a lot of days where I didn't have anything going on for a full week. And that mindset of just, oh my God, I should be doing something, right? I just feel like I haven't done anything. Like, what's going on? How am I supposed to make a living out of this? I'm not busy. I'm not doing much. That's when I really started to realize, well, you can't just wait all the time. This is one of those places where you have to go and advertise yourself. You have to show the community. You have to do the background work, right? Days off would be perfect days to visit new communities, right? Events, mingle with people, go to different places where you can meet people, your neighbors, your immediate sphere of influence, all those things. I mean, that's how you get started. And a lot of people don't necessarily want to do that work.
I think too, like you said, it's about the mindset. And one thing for you guys out there too is it's building a network. And for me, it was really easy in college. It was easy in college to help build that network because I had people studying the same thing, staying in the same dorms. And if you think about it that way, it's like your neighborhoods. It's like your neighborhoods. It's like your people that you run into, talk to every day. Something that we challenge our agents all the time. We say, look in your phone book. Look in your phone book. Go to the very bottom, and it'll tell you how many contacts you have.
Right.
And you got to manage it by conversation. And
it's all about the amount of conversations you're willing to have daily. That's going to determine how successful you are. There's a lot of places that could offer leads, different things, but will it ever be enough? You know, are you actually going to learn the skill of actually communicating with people, earning your own business? I mean, that's the goal for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like that you pointed out looking at the phone book, you know, at your contacts in your phone. Have you reached out to them? Every day we get on Facebook, probably when you wake up and look at the feed.
Every day, I know.
Well, are you reaching
I'm
out?
looking at it.
You know, are you posting something about yourself? Have you told the world that you do real estate?
Yeah.
Does your immediate people that you talk to on a daily basis, and even their friends and family members, do they know that you're in real estate? I'm not saying you have to go knock on their door, but I mean, are you showing that this is what I do now and I can help you with this?
Yeah, no, you're right, exactly. And I think too, you know, it's a very different, you have to switch your mentality about it. Like, you know, when somebody comes in and they're a brand new agent, you know, and we're talking to them. I know I've gotten this in an interview. I'm sure you have too, Pedro. You know, they ask, you know, how much did you do in your first year?
Yeah.
And I think that's just the wrong mentality. You know, it's easy to think that way. And most people do get in this business for money. And that's totally cool. I have no issue with that. But the problem is your consumer can't feel like that, right? Like you can't always try to be selling something. Just go to the neighborhood event, have a good time. You know, you put something on. Something I do is I yo-yo, you know, and I'm sure we're gonna get to that in a different video, but it's easy, right? You know, I can teach kids and parents, you know, that are interested about that cool talent, you know, and it can be taught, and that can get you into those networks. And get you talking to those people without having to talk about real estate. Yeah,
you know, and I think, you know, the fact that you mentioned, you know, the yo-yo, you know, is very unique to you, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody watches people in real estate, and I feel like it's kind of like a copycat kind of business, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to do what the other one is doing, but I really think, and honestly, it took me years to figure out, because it's been a journey, you know. I've been experimenting, I've been trying different things. But what I came to realize, Jackson, is the fact that it's what you enjoy doing on a daily basis that's the most genuine to you, is the most organic way of meeting people. Me, you know, I have dogs, you know, I foster a lot of dogs. My wife and I, we have a lot of dogs, right? Like 7, 8 at a time. And that's just something we do for the community. You know, we feel good by saving animals that are in the list of, you know, euthanasia. So, you know, we go grab them. But, you know, all these years I realized I've been taking care of these dogs. I've been doing everything. And I go to parks, dog parks, talk to people. But I never really used that as a way to meet people and actually, you know, develop something there.
For sure.
And that's something I incorporated. Now, I don't have that many agents that do what I do. That's very unique to me. The same way you do your yo-yo thing. Very unique to you. So with that being said, Jackson, like, what would be something, if someone was to come and ask you and they're brand new or they're looking to get into real estate and they want to know, you know, what type of work ethic they must have, what will it take to be successful, what would you say to them?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. You know, the work ethic is tough, you know, and I feel like you have to enjoy, you have to be passionate about what you do. And a lot of people in this business just focus on houses. But really, at the end of the day, I would ask them, I'd say, hey, you know, do you wake up every morning and want to help somebody? You know, if you were on 911 and you got that call, would you go and help? And I know real estate is not that extreme, you know, but if you think about it that way, you know, that's what you have to be prepared to do when they call and they ask about a house or ask about a certain HOA. I feel like you got to be ready to answer those questions. You know, you just got to be their advocate. You know, you're more representing them as the representation. You know, we have something at the LRG, we say representation is never compromised.
Yep,
you know,
absolutely.
And that's something I feel like is very true at this business. And if you look at it that way, you're more motivated to go to work. You know, at the end of the day, you start not to think about it as work. I think real estate too is, if you're passionate about it, you like meeting the people, you network correctly, it doesn't feel like work. People will just reach out to you, you know, and be like, man, hey, I know you're in real estate. Can you help me with XYZ?
Right.
You know?
Right. Now, us observing so many journeys of agents coming to us, some take off pretty quick, some not so
Yeah.
much. I feel like, we have great examples on the team that I've witnessed where, someone new might look at another new agent, right? And they see their journey. But I think the most important thing is to focus on your own journey.
Oh yeah, I mean everyone gets there differently.
Yeah.
Like it's like I said, not everyone's going to be able to get in with the Brazilian community in San Antonio.
Right.
It's not. It's really. I had this conversation with a different agent. I said, "What do you like to do?"
Yeah.
Like he said, we was talking about his business or whatnot. He was trying to improve his social media presence, and he asked me what I was doing and what he should think about. I said, "Well, what do you like to do?"
Yeah.
And he said he liked to cook.
Okay.
And check this out. I gave him some gold. I said he's the realtor with the recipe.
Okay.
See, I'm just cooking it up over here. But
that's a very unique way to him.
But yeah, and he thought that was a great idea, and like it's something he already does. He already goes home and cooks, and if you can integrate that, into your business, it's huge.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's hard to, because, we do have a culture here in a team where we celebrate each other, right? Anytime someone has a transaction or a good story to share, we post it for the whole team to see.
Yeah.
And, we like to collaborate, celebrate them, everything. But I also know for new people that could be like, oh my God, I'm not doing that yet. And they kind of get in their head about it.
Oh yeah, no, I think they think negatively. Yeah, I think the first thing they go for is like, why isn't that deal not? And it's tough. I mean, it's tough for people. They see it all the time, and I think that's why realtors, statistically don't make it past like 2 years. They get too in their head about it, and the biggest thing is to go back to your mentorship. The biggest thing is to go back, ask. What can I improve? What do you think I'm not doing to do the same business that they're achieving?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, it's very tough, but it's something that can be learned. I mean, we both learned it. It's possible. It's possible for some people to come from nothing and not even be part of San Antonio and come into the business and learn how to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of those things as well that, yes, you have the mentorship. Yes, you have someone to hold you accountable, but I mean, you have to want it for yourself.
Yeah.
Would you agree? I mean, it's one of those things that even no matter how many mentors I had or didn't have, my goal was already in my head. And the goal mixed with the work ethic, it was only a matter of time before I took off. I don't think it really matters what type of background you have before you get to real estate. I mean, you were talking about driving Uber. I'm talking about oil field. That has nothing to do with real estate, but yet they have things that could help you in real estate.
Yeah.
You talking to people driving all the time kind of makes that little muscle memory of just casual conversations, staying curious, right?
Yep.
That's the key, staying curious. But also for me, it was dealing with all these people, having conversations with them, but also kind of, embracing that role that I wanted to find out information that they didn't know and bring that to them. And it's kind of what I do as well for my clients, If they don't know something, of course, we have a license. We're the ones that's supposed to know a lot of stuff, a lot of different things. But if I don't, I'm going to go get it, right? And going back to the mentorship, no matter how many mentors you have, if you don't apply what you learn with the mentor, nothing is going to change. I can give you 40 different strategies today. If you go home and don't do any, and the next month you come back to me and say, what else do I need to improve on? My first question is going to be, well, did you apply everything else we spoke about? Because if you haven't, how are you going to continue to learn more things? Now you kind of get into this rabbit hole of, I've been dabbling in this little circle that I can't get out of. That's because you're not really applying those things. You're just learning, quote unquote, it goes in and out of the other, right? And I mean, it's just information that's not wasted, but it's not being put to use either. Yeah. Right?
No, you're right. And I think this goes really into having realistic expectations, for yourself, for your clients, for the business, and because you're right, people will come in and you're going to give them really sweet, stuff to cook up, like realtor with the recipe, right? But they got to go out. You guys got to go out and do it, and that's what's big is just the action. You're not going to start out with 1 million followers either. You're not going to start out.
But you don't need to.
Yeah, you don't need it either. You're right. No, but like people have that expectation though. They're like, I'm going to go do this and immediately I'm going to get 100,000 likes and all this stuff. And it's just not true. You have to be realistic with yourself and just stay consistent. And I think that's what's really big in this business is consistency.
Yeah. I mean, and even financially, right? I mean, it's every other show I see on different networks. It's about the glory side of real estate. They don't show the gritty and how long they have been doing it. Right?
Yeah, they don't show the many months of showing them that house.
We reap the benefits of being successful nowadays, but it's going back to the drawing board from the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's what I teach. Is what I teach through my experience, from what I've done, and also what I didn't do. Because a lot of things that I didn't do that I know work, that's what I'm teaching too, right?
Yeah,
I was terrible at doing this, but because you should probably do it and do it at a high level. Because if I would have capitalized off of that,
it might have
you'd probably be looking at a different person right now, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we it is a time in business.
Yeah.
You got to put your time in for this business. It's going to burn you down. It's going to try to take your bricks out of your house.
Yeah.
You're going to want to give it up all the time. But again, you just have to be passionate about helping people.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of this that people oversee. Because car sales, I don't know, I always think about car sales and home sales and why they're so different, but it's just different, right? Like, it's not like you're going and you're getting hounded by all these guys to try to sell this car to you. You have to pick the right agent. It's not like you could use any old salesman. You've got to seek it out and seek out somebody who is passionate, and so you have to have that in you too. You've got to.
What would you say to the client that you met before in person? You have all this knowledge and expertise, but yet, their friend of an uncle is a realtor and they want to use them, but they can't really vouch for their level of knowledge or even experience.
Yeah.
What would you say to those clients?
I like this. I always like this. So because I ran into this, like I said, I didn't have real estate experience before I joined the team. So, when I went out there, it was, people would ask, how many years have you been in the business? And my answer always was my team that I'm a part of is the best in Texas. And if I don't know something, if I don't know, I'm going to go back and ask, I'm going to find out. Right. And, so you can't let that get you down. The other part of this is we're full-time professionals. Pedro and I do this for a living. Many of the I don't know, I like to call them couch commentators about real estate. They don't know. They're not professional. They're not looking at the business and doing the research every single day like us. So that's what I normally say. I say, well, what is your experience working with a professional real estate agent? And because I want to know what they've heard, and I'll listen to it, but I'll let them know too, well, I've been doing this for 7 years at this point, which I can say now, but even then, I'm part of the number one team, and I know that
because you knew you could rely on the team support and knowledge to make it better. So that's what made it different. And I like the question that you asked your client, but another question that I like to ask is, how confident are you that brand new person over there, right, has enough knowledge to secure the best deal possible? Right? Especially in different markets. We know strategies. We know a lot of different things that have been tested, proven to work.
Well, the contract changes too. So every year, every few months at this point, we see contract changes, business changes. And we're following that as professionals in the business, and it's going to be forever for us. We're going to follow that stuff, so it's easier to trust someone that does that. And if you're conveying that and not just shutting down, you can't just shut down when you get those questions and they challenge you, because they're going to. They want to pick the good agent. But don't shut down. You're going to get people every now and then that no matter what you say, they're going to trust their mother-in-law or whoever, and and that's that. But at the end of the day, then you've got to show your value.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and we have some of those new agents, right? But the difference is we're giving all of our stuff, pouring it into them. So even though they're new, they're not just like
they're not brand new.
Souls
like they're
trying to figure stuff.
They're not coming out of real estate school and just going for it.
Right.
And so yeah, you're right. I mean, our structure is great, and I really look forward to all the other stuff that we're going to talk about as we go along, because it's helping us build a house.
I mean, and we have a lot of experience. We love what we do. That's the most important thing. Do you love what you do? When you wake up in the morning, and this is a reflection for you guys that want to do real estate and could potentially run across this video and say, well, do I want to do it? I'm doing my research. The first question I would ask, how bad do you want this?
Yeah.
Right? Because if you don't want it, if you think it just looks cool, or you've seen a friend and you just want to follow that, or with the money or whatever, you might even envision a Lambo or whatever, right? Not to say that that's not doable, but the question is, what are you willing to do to get there?
Right? I think too is like, again, it's a career. When you go into real estate, it is a career. It's a career decision. It's not something that if you're going in and you're like, oh, I'm only going to do this for a year or two, and like I'm going to find something else, you're probably not going to get the results you want. It's just not that. You can't put that lower level of passion into it and find the results.
What would you say to someone that has a job, a good job, and maybe a job with benefits, things that matter to them a lot? What would you say to one of those people that maybe want to do real estate part-time? Your advice. I mean, we talk about being all in,
like that,
fully committed, but some people can't. Right? It just happens. That's life. Totally understand it. I have agents in my group that are going through that. What would you say to them? Should they do it? Should they not do it? What should they look for? What type of mindset or expectation should they come in with?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Pedro. And I'm sure you know the answer yourself you would say to this. But for me too, I would come in and tell them, we're a team and we can support that. We absolutely can support you leaning slowly into a career. But here at the team, we really want to teach people how to make it a full-time job, how to get there and have the income, right? And to get there and the benefits make sense. So I would tell them, absolutely, I want to teach you and mold you and get you there. But you got to think about it yourself. At what point do you make that decision? I would ask them that too. At what point do you decide, hey, I want to do this full time? Because it is a huge time commitment. And this isn't something you can just do on the weekend. Right. You know what I mean? But there are people that definitely make it work, and they go into it slowly. When I was here, like I said, I just answered phones starting out. So that was a steady job, and I learned of the business answering phones here before I made the jump to it's only commission. And it is a risky decision, and it's a risky change, but it's lower risk than gambling on the stock market, right? You're more betting on yourself that I'm going to dedicate all my time and effort into this career and making sales and making it happen. I mean, so
my answer to that, I agree with everything you said. I think that's very, very important to understand before you get into it. Like I said, nothing wrong with part-time. My question to them would be, if you're wanting to do it part-time, that's fine, but you also can't, you can't treat it like a part-time, even though it is. You can't, because you want to be available for people. If you treat it like one of those things that I don't have to put too much attention into it, but once, a weekend, a month, you're probably not going to make it. And the people that do make it as part-timers, when they're doing real estate for that week or weekend or whatever it is, they're all in. They're not just waiting at home for the weekend, waiting for a connection. They're doing everything we spoke about for that weekend, and maybe even double or triple the guy that's doing it a full week long, right? The one that's doing it full time. They understand, well, I'm doing this, and that's okay for 2 days a week. But in this 2 days, I'm going to make the most out of it. I'm going to go visit 10 new build communities. I'm going to try to call 10 different people every other hour or so. I'm going to prospect a lot. I'm going to work on my social media. I'm
See, that's what
going to
I'm saying.
actually educate myself, right? We always talk about in a team, 15 minutes of research of your job.
Yeah.
That's what it takes a lot of times
That
too,
is what it takes.
right? You have a mentor, but are you seeking more knowledge? And those people do that really well. If you're not willing to do that and you want to treat it like a vacation, part-time, only when I need it, it could work, but maybe not necessarily. I think people that don't really embrace that role, I call it just kind of like the people in the reserves and in the Army Reserves or in the, National Guard. They might have different jobs, but when you check in on your weekend, you put that hat on and your uniform and you do whatever needs to happen this weekend, even if you might not leave the base until 8 p.m. that weekend. Yeah. That's what it takes, because that's what you're getting paid to do. But also, it's not so much that you're getting paid to do that, that's what it takes for you to be successful. And if your goal is to eventually leave that other job and make this full-time, you have to embrace that work so that whenever you do want to leave the other place, you're not having to start over from scratch. You already have experience.
You're right.
And you come in fully embraced, understanding what the work ethic takes, what the type of background work must be done before you just, go out there. It's not just about putting on a fancy suit and going to show houses. It's about everything else we talked about. So now I want to get to some questions that maybe newer agents might want to know, that might be thinking about real estate, or maybe even some of those that are already in real estate, but they're not too successful right now. And they have goals and they have different things, but they're just not finding it. So my question to you would be is, we get this question a lot, from people. And I've even Googled it when before I started doing real estate. How much would an agent make in the first year? What would be your answer to that?
Me? So how much an agent make in the first year? I've seen, actually, you'd be surprised. I've seen very, very low. I've seen under 10,000, for a year. But I've also seen 60 grand for somebody's first year. And then you have somebody 60 grand, but then their second year will be like double. Right.
Could it be people that first year they hit six figures?
It's possible, absolutely. No, I mean, my very first year in the business, I did 40 homes. I sold 40 houses. Wow. And I was driving around.
Do you realize that some people that could be watching this in 3-4 years, they haven't done that amount?
Yeah. It's crazy. So but the thing is, like, you can do it. There's a lot of variables though. I would say, and I'll ask you too, Pedro, but like, there's a lot of stuff we can't control. So there's just so many variables to what the market's doing, how much homes are, the affordability of homes, interest rates, that's popular. So if, it was like that and you had someone brand new and like they were really trying to improve their business, what would you tell them if they're worried about interest rates or like what the market's doing? Right. Like what would you tell them to still sell and improve?
Well, for me, it wouldn't be so much about what they sell. To me, it would be more about, going back to what are you doing on a daily basis. You're always going to hear me say that because I live by that, know. But to me, it's going to be more of, okay, we have a barrier that we can't control. It's out of our control. Now, we know one thing for certain. People either have a house or they want to have one.
Yeah, absolutely.
That business is never going to go away, even if the rates go to 50%, right? 10, 3, doesn't matter.
Still going to need
Everyone
a place to live.
Should get a house. Everyone should strive to own a home, right? And I would focus on that. Regardless of the market, I wouldn't focus on much on that. I would focus on what separates you from everyone else out there.
Yeah, I like that.
And that could be knowledge. It might not be experience, right? Because you might be new. But are you doing more than they are?
Yeah.
And in this very unique market right now, I mean, I would let them know, hey, this market, we're having to go back to the old times of real estate. Yeah. Everything got so modernized and so, super easy, right? Super easy. But more than ever, I just noticing, people are going back to knocking on doors. People are going back to the one-on-one conversations, face-to-face. Consultations, passing out cards, reaching out to people directly. That's what I would let them know. Are you willing to do those things? Because this business is not going away ever. It shouldn't, right? A lot of people will. A lot of agents will go away. But if you want to stick around and you want to make it a career, you really have to embrace those things and to practice them every freaking day.
Yeah.
Every day. That would be my answer to them. If you do those things, I don't care if it takes 3-4 months, eventually it will pay off.
Yeah.
And like I said, once you get going in that little train, don't jump out of it.
Yeah.
Keep that thing going.
I think you brought up a great point. Is a lot of agents too that even now that are experienced, they're having this issue, and sales are slowing down, and they just don't think of the big picture. I think it's very much something that the new people do too. They don't think, like, if I stick with it and other agents start to fall off, well, that's less competition. I'm not competing with as many agents out there.
Right.
So it's a better probability, for me to do deals.
Yeah.
The other thing is, like you said, they're not thinking of the long term. I feel like that's something that is another critical point, is you have to think in this business like months out. You have to predict.
Always staying ahead.
Yeah, you have to predict, your bills, your expenses, your income, like everything months in advance.
Yep. Because
this changes so fast. So it's not the same as getting that paycheck every 2 weeks. It's not. It's very different. You have to commit the time, and our closing rate here, it takes between 30 and 45 days in San Antonio to close.
Right.
So, and we're the last person that receives a check. Is a real estate agent. So you have to budget that way, and you have to mentally prepare that way. And the pipeline, building your pipeline and long term is huge.
And going back to the initial question, how much can I make in the first year, Pedro?
Yeah.
It depends. It depends how bad you want it. It depends how much work you're willing to do.
Yeah.
Like me personally, the first year, once I got going, I was one of those examples that, 2 weeks in, I had 2 contracts on the weekend. And after that, Pedro was a different person, right?
Yeah.
I did, I spent some money, I had a good time, but I knew when it was time to work and put on my clothes the next day, I had to, I was all over the city. I mean, I was filling up gas tanks twice a day sometimes, right? Driving a V8, and so back then, pumping gas. But I knew, even though I wasn't seeing results immediately, I knew that I was planting all these seeds. And eventually those seeds started to turn into contracts. And then I found myself getting into this zone where it was repeat every week, and every month it turned into 4, 5 contracts. I mean, there was a point where I had 13 in 1 month.
Yeah.
It might not be the most to a lot of people, but to me at that time, it was insane.
Yeah.
It was a lot, right?
Well, it's like farming.
Yeah.
It's a weird analogy, but it's like farming.
I mean, that's why it's called neighborhood farming too.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So you're planting the seeds, and corn or wheat or whatever, it takes a whole season for that to grow.
But if you're not watering every day,
but if you're not doing the work still, exactly, you're not tilling the land and all that stuff. How are you going
to come in December and say, where's my potatoes?
Where's the money? Yeah.
Right.
Where's the product? Yeah, it's the same thing. So, I mean, it's just planning, and thinking about that. And,
how much would you recommend that someone has in their pocket bank account before getting into real estate?
I tell agents coming in that are new to the business, I say have 3 months.
Okay.
I say have 3 months where you can expect to not sell anything. And if you didn't sell anything in those 3 months, that you still had money to like to still survive. Because it does take a while. And it can take a while because when's the first time someone you met bought the first house they saw? I mean, never. Yeah. So it's going to take a while. And so, it's just that positivity, waking up every day, doing the same thing, having a good mindset, setting yourself expectations. It's crucial. I mean, it is just crucial to continue and do well in this business.
I mean, it's one of those things that, I understand. I fully understand what new agents might feel, because I felt it. And it's one of those things where you might not see the results every day. And it's kind of like always eating salads and not seeing any weight loss for the first couple months or weeks. And you're like, why am I doing all this? And it's not really turning into anything.
Yeah.
But you have to trust the process, and you cannot quit on what's working and what's not working, right? You have to continue to try it because how else are you going to know if the crops will be actually grown, right?
Yeah.
If you don't do it every day, you have to continue to
Gotta
do
check
it every day. You know, one of the most attractive things about real estate is not having, quote unquote, the responsibilities of a regular job, that you have to check in or do this every so hours. I believe you must have that, but you have to train
do it
yourself.
Yeah, you have to do
to
it
do
yourself.
it. And some people do need someone to set the rules and standards for them. And there's nothing wrong with that, but eventually the goal should be to where you can develop those things on your own discipline.
Yeah.
Your own, you know, structure, your own routine that you stick to every day, and it pays off. I don't think I ever met an agent that does something every day that's productive to real estate for months and it doesn't pay out.
Yeah, no,
It always works
not.
out.
Yeah, you always have.
I don't care how long it takes. It might have taken 6 months, and for him over there, it could have taken 3 days.
Yeah,
But the 6 months guy, all this stuff he's learned, there's gonna come a time and point where he's gonna rely on that knowledge that he gained at the beginning, even though he wasn't selling much. But he kept up with the training and everything, his routine, and then it pays off.
Yeah,
always.
Imagine too, like, as those 6 months go on, you know, new construction is a great example. You know, someone that can go and sell a brand new home, that's great. But some of those aren't done until 6 months. So you got to think about all the connections and all the knowledge that you could grow from in those 6 months, and you could sell more. You know, as you're going and learning and you're waiting on this one that you already have done, you can grow and continue to stack them.
Right.
That's what I think real estate agents, you know, they forget about. That this is such a timing business, and you have to predict and plan. Well, guess what? You can plan to close 6 months or 6 houses 6 months from now, all in the same month. You know, you can do that. And they don't think about that. You know, they don't think about the positive of being that far ahead.
Yeah. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, before real estate, I don't know about you, but I never really, I mean, of course, we always want to think that we have a long-term goal and plan.
Yeah.
But we really don't. Not many people do.
Not like
in
more
real
than 6
estate,
months,
like I really do it every time to where, I give you an example. I have 2 closings that will take place in the middle of next year.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how far ahead I am with that,
Yeah.
right? Now, but I understand that I can't just rely on that. Now I gotta take care of this next 6 months. What am I gonna do every day to make sure that every month is a steady paycheck?
Yep. No, you're exactly right. And so, you know, I think, I mean, we've talked about a lot. You've talked about a lot today, Pedro, and I think there's a lot of subjects that we can delve more deep into, you know, later on. But this is a great, you know, foundation. This is a great start.
Solid foundation.
Solid, yeah. And then, and so, you know, what's any like last things, you know, before we move on and kind of get to the next set of videos and stuff like that?
I mean, if you're new and you're looking to get into real estate, I would say look in the mirror, right, before you start making the moves.
Yeah.
Look in the mirror, realize, you know, ask yourself, do I just like it? Do I love it? Or am I obsessed with this? If you're obsessed the same way you are about breathing when you wake up, you'll make it.
Yeah.
I don't care if you work at a 7-Eleven. I don't care if you drive Uber, you work in the oil field, you're transitioning from the military. If you want it, you can be very, very successful. Financially, emotionally, in every way, shape, or form, you can make it. Look in the mirror, understand what it takes, embrace the work, and if you want to do it, just go. Do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. You kind of last, for me too, is, you know, we're going to come out and have a lot of series of videos of this. And, you know, you can learn so much on YouTube, other mentors, you know, and reach out and find that in your business, you know, and we'd love for it to be us, you know, but you know, obviously there are a lot of people out there that have done it that you can receive coaching from. And just get it from all the places you can, and manage your time long term.
There's no better plan than the one you execute.
That's right. No better plan than the one you execute, which is why we're here doing this video for you guys today. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
All right. Thank you.